Okay. Are we recording?
We are live and we're recording.
Okay,
Mr. Mayor.
all right. Sounds good. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to City Council February the 4th edition. It is 7:01 or so now to begin our council meeting. As we go into our moment of silent reflection, we've been asking for folks to keep Mary Allball and Pam Bucklew in their thoughts and prayers. Both have had some health issues and procedures done. And now we add Jack Rigger to that list. Jack, for those of you who do not know, has been courageously battling COVID for the past couple of weeks. He has spent some time at United Hospital Center in Clarksburg under a ventilator. Jack is a big personality and an important member of our community, and of course we enjoy working with him here on the City Council. I would ask that you add Jack to that list of a prayer request so that he gets better and better quickly and back with us and back to work in his normal life. There's a lot of people in our community that have suffered losses and are not so high up on their luck right now. So if you know somebody, please keep them in your thoughts and prayers as we enter this moment of reflection. Thank you very much. Jerry Arnold, how about you do the honors?
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. In following with our agenda this evening, we would like to recognize our newest Buckhannon City Police Officer, Jacob Garrison, who the council met back before Christmas and interviewed. And Jacob was referred to us by the Police Civil Service Commission, and the council liked him well enough to invite him to be a part of our officer rank and file. So I would ask for Chief Gregory to come up and Mr. Garrison to come up, and we've got an oath of office to administer. Mr. Sanders has told me I have to stand right here.
Well, you
So
should.
I try to follow the rules. So all right. Thanks for being here this evening. I'm glad to have you on board. Would you please raise your right hand and would you repeat after me, and I'll try to break this up as best as I can to not stumble over you, okay? I, Jacob Emmanuel Garrison,
I, Jacob Emmanuel Garrison,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of West Virginia,
the Constitution of the State of West Virginia,
the Charter and ordinances of the City of Buckhannon, West Virginia,
the Charter and ordinances of
City of Buckhannon, West Virginia,
West Virginia,
and faithfully discharge my duties
and faithfully discharge my duties
as a police officer
as a police officer
of the said city
of the said city
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Welcome aboard. I'd shake your hand, but we're not supposed to do that right now, so well, welcome aboard. I need your signature right here where it says sign, and then I will sign under you, and then we'll do a photo op with the chief, and then the floor is yours to say anything you'd like to say. So you can go ahead and do that while I sign.
I just appreciate the honor of serving the community. I've always had a I've always wanted to join a law enforcement, and coming to Buckhannon and meeting with the chief and the fellow officers that are underneath him, I recognize that I really fall in love with the city and that I'm going to enjoy this job working for the citizens of Buckhannon.
Tell us where you're from.
I'm from Fairmont, West Virginia. I'm the youngest of three. My parents, they never really did law enforcement, but no one in my family has done law enforcement. We're a military family. Everyone in my family has served in the military on my dad's side, and all the males on my mom's side as well. And I just wanted to change up the family tree and start a new path for me.
Sounds good. Well, we welcome you aboard. Chief, if you'd come up and we'll allow the media that's present here to snap a photo.
Y'all make me look short.
I could have brought Doug. Hang on 1 second.
Mr. Sanders is going to snap a photo.
We're gonna do a couple here. That looks like it's outstanding. Oh my God, that's great.
Just because of this guy. Chief, is there anything you'd like to say, or you can defer to your report? It's up to you.
Defer to the report, but
Okay.
I didn't set him up this time like I did Fisher. I told Fisher he didn't have to say anything. So
I was just waiting for you to say the Pledge of
There you
Allegiance.
go. That's normally, yeah. Jacob, one of your scrapbook too. Thank you.
Thank you. Jacob, we welcome you aboard. You're welcome to stay for the meeting, or if you want to go get settled, we certainly understand. Okay. Under recognized guests this evening, this is usually an annual visit. She's usually here with us in council chambers, but in light of where we are, she's decided to join us on the telephone. Laura Ward with the Country Roads Transit Authority. She is the executive director, and she's here with her annual report and a request of the council. Good evening, Laura.
Good evening. How are you?
We are doing well. A little cold outside, but we're doing well.
Good. Good. I'm glad. Thank you very much for welcoming me. I know it's a little different this year, and it's kind of sad for me not to see your faces. It's always a happy meeting. So I'm just visiting you again to report on your investment in transit in Upshur County. I come every year, and of course we report on the previous fiscal year, which ended last July 1st. And of course last fiscal year was interrupted, as I'm sure yours was, by transit, or I'm sorry, by COVID. And transit was no exception to that. So we were plugging right along with our ridership numbers until last March when COVID hit. And at that point, because people, and we're grateful that people listened and stayed home more, we saw about a 21% decrease in our numbers for the remainder of the year. This year continues that as COVID continues. But I am proud to say that we never stopped service. We did have a small suspension in the route service while we could figure out how to safely get a number of people on a van together during COVID. But that didn't last long, and our demand response service, of course, worked steadily, never missed a day. I am proud, so proud of my staff. Not one single staff member, not one single driver ever complained about driving during COVID. They understand the importance of those rides to the people who take them. Most of those folks simply have no way to get to their destination, to doctor's appointments, to grocery stores. You and I who have cars may be able to choose to do Walmart pickup for our groceries, but if you don't have a car to get the pickup, that's kind of difficult. So we remain an important service. And again, just so proud of my staff for all of their commitment to our ridership. I wanted to fill you in, and I sent some documentation just so you would get sort of a snapshot of transit this past year. But we continue our partnership with the Upshur County Senior Center. In fact, I'm meeting with them next week about continuing that for another year as well. This is the 6th year we will have done that. And I know that I've told you all that before. I won't bore you with the details of that again unless someone has questions. But that has been a wonderful service. That is a perfect example of agencies working together to have a bigger impact than they could individually. And we want to continue that. So we continue to look for unmet transit needs in our area. Last year I came to you with this idea I had we were then calling it the Veterans Route, but we've now expanded that to the Clarksburg Area Medical Route. So it was the first veterans that told us that they no longer have rides to the VA hospital. As we met with community members this year, including Mr. Dolberg from St. Joseph, we realized that it's not just the vets that have a problem with that, but even some St. Joseph patients who need specialists in Clarksburg have trouble getting there. And so we have received approval from the Division of Public Transit to expand our services and begin that route. We are waiting for a van that they are going to provide to us. Again, everything with transit a 50-50 match except the vehicle. So they are giving us that vehicle. That is a wonderful expansion for our community. We were able to come up with one-time money for the match for this year. And so we'll be able to start that. And our goal is to prove to everyone that that was a need and that we were able to meet that this next coming year, so that we can get the community buy-in necessary for that 50-50 match as we move forward. We're also really happy in those discussions with the administration of St. Joseph that we had a lot of really great conversations around the importance of transit and getting people to their doctor's appointments. We all know that getting people to those regular appointments, keeping them healthy, is of course better for those folks, but also from a financial standpoint, it saves our community money. And so St. Joseph has committed to their patients. They've identified folks who have trouble getting to their appointments because of transportation. And next week, they are going to start issuing vouchers for Country Roads Transit rides to those identified patients that are having problems. Those folks, we will deviate from our normal procedure, and instead of taking a fare, we will take that voucher. We will then just bill St. Joseph once a month for the cost of those rides. So it's a commitment, again, on the part of everyone to try to keep the community healthier. And we are just so excited to continue to serve the community and try to meet these needs as we find them. Does anyone have any questions for me?
Any questions or comments for Laura regarding her report?
Thank you.
Thank you very much for all the work that you do, Laura.
Thanks a lot, Laura.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Keep up the good work.
And just a note of reference, as Laura knows and our council's aware, we're beginning to look at budgets for 2021 fiscal year that begins July the 1st and ends June the 30th of 2022. I assume, Laura, that the same request is being asked of us this year, the same as last and previous, correct?
It is, sir, and I always follow up this meeting with a letter. I try to wait till after the meeting because sometimes you ask me questions I don't know the answer to, and I can answer that then in my follow-up letter. So you'll be getting that in the next day or two.
Okay, that sounds good.
I guess this is Dave Thomas, Laura. I guess I have one question. How many other communities like Buckhannon do this?
I can't answer that. We do this in Randolph and Upshur counties, and those cities, and both Elkins and Buckhannon support transit. Transit is very widely supported supported within the state. And they all of the 5311, the rural transit, which are called 5311 programs, like ours, require a 50-50 match. So a lot of communities throughout the state do this. I'll be happy, Dave, to try to call the division and get that number for you.
Yeah, that'd be very interesting to see how many of the counties are doing this, cities and counties. Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome.
All right, Laura, have a great rest of your evening. Thanks for attending. Sorry you couldn't come over here and be with us in person, but hopefully sometime soon we'll get to a point where that can be made possible. But in the meantime, we'll look forward to your letter and hope to continue the support that we have over the past few years, several years now, of Country Roads Transit.
Thank you so much.
All
Be
right.
healthy and safe.
Okay.
You too. Bye-bye.
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 Okay, next up on the list, we start into our department and board reports, and we start off with Callie Cronin-Sams. Hello, Callie.
Hello, Mayor. Thank you so much. Joining you this evening, I've got my report in your packet, and just wanted to go over a little bit from my regular report. We have been putting stuff out on social media and up on the website as we typically do, sharing information. You can see that in your report, what we've been sharing the last couple of weeks. And I also wanted to remind everyone that this is the last weekend to see Deanna Gillen's art exhibit at the Colonial Theater Gallery. And I'll be meeting with Randy coming up on this Tuesday to go over some protocols for adding information to the city site and social media, creating and running these go-to meetings for the council board and committee meetings. We're also, Randy and I are also working together on a grant possibility for the 2023 Wormsby event. And kind of that leads me into, Mayor, if this would be an okay time to do so, to present what other news I have.
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Maybe you don't want to hear it.
I already know it, but that doesn't mean I'm happy about it, but...
Yes. Well, I just wanted to thank everybody so much. And I know that several council members and folks from the city already know, but for those that don't, I have an offer from the Department of Environmental Protection to serve with them again as an environmental resource specialist. It's an opportunity to lead a statewide program, the Save Our Streams program especially, that's working with volunteers and students and teaching them how to monitor stream health right in their backyard. It's a fantastic opportunity for me to be able to lead a statewide program, but they're being flexible with locations, so I don't need to go to Charleston, so I couldn't pass it up, but I wanted to stress that this has been a wonderful getting to work with everyone here at the City of Buckhannon the past 3 years, both with City Council and also with the staff here at the city and all of our community partners as well. It really made it a tough decision, and I'm thankful that, of course, Buckhannon and the Buckhannon River watershed are still within the state of West Virginia, so I hope to be able to continue working with the city and with our community partners as well, but just from a different perspective. So I do want to thank everybody, but I also wanted to bring that up also because as part of my report, I wanted to ensure, of course, that we will be having a smooth transition. I know we have members of the media there, and I am working with Randy and Amby and making sure that we will keep making sure information gets to our website and going out via email when there's press, the news to get to the press. And so we will continue getting that information out. And, we will continue looking for grant funding as well. You have an excellent grant writer with Jay Holland and others with the organization that will keep things moving along. And, of course, Amby Jenkins and Jerry Arnold and all the department supervisors, really. So you are in great hands. It's been such a pleasure to get the privilege and honor to work with folks at the city. But, and on a practical note, just going back to my report, Randy and I on Tuesday will be looking at all those nitty-gritty details and making sure that it's as smooth as possible. And certainly going to missing working with everybody on a daily basis, but I'll still be around. Please don't hesitate to email or call. I'd be thrilled to have the opportunity to just chat, and I'll always be available.
Well, thank you so much, Callie. Callie shared with Amby and Randy and myself earlier this week her exciting news to the opportunity that she received. We certainly wish her well. We recognize that our loss is the DEP's gain. She was an asset here. She'll be an asset there. We're thrilled she's not leaving the community. We're thrilled that she's staying right here in Buckhannon to continue to raise her daughter. But we will miss her presence here at City Hall and working on behalf of the citizens of Buckhannon. She's done a fantastic job in the position, and we will miss her. It'll be good to run into her at different places though in town though. But we thank you, Callie, for everything that you've done for us. And like I said, we certainly wish you well. I'll open it up to the council for any thoughts or farewell wishes to Callie.
Well, this is Dave Thomas. Callie, I'm not going to wish you good luck because you don't need it. You've done a phenomenal job for us, and I appreciate the opportunity to work with you occasionally, and I'm sure you'll do a great job in your new position. I know you're probably very, very excited about that opportunity. So best of luck anyway. So there you go.
Yes.
Yeah, I'd like to, I'll add my comment too as well. Callie, it's been a pleasure to work with you. It's going to be a huge loss to not have you updating things quickly, but I'll do my best until we work something else out on a more permanent basis to keep things rolling. And wish you so much luck in the future. And again, like Dave Thomas said, you don't really need it, but you know, Godspeed.
Thank you so much, Randy.
This is Mary. I just wanted to say to Callie, thank you so very much for all the things that you've helped to push things forward. There's a lot of changes. You worked really hard getting some grant money in for us, and I'm not going to miss you because you live right across the street a little bit, and I'm glad you're staying here so I can watch that little girl of yours grow up, okay? And I wish you the best. I wish you the best.
All right. Thank you, Mary.
Hey, Callie, it's Pam. I wanted to thank you for all of your work you've done for the city, and I know your heart's in the city, and you'll still yet be there for us. I just appreciate everything. I just know that it's going to be hard to fill your shoes at the city, and I want to wish you good luck. But I'll be seeing you down the street also.
Thank you, Pam. Thank you so much.
Yes, Callie, as someone who worked on the original comprehensive plan and recommended the hiring of a grant writer in 2007, it took us quite a few years to get to the point to hire you, and it's been a pleasure. You've fulfilled all the expectations, exceeded all the expectations we had, and I think now the role that you've filled, we see how important it is, and that we can, that will allow, your performance will allow us to continue to view that as a necessary role within city government. So thank you and best of luck.
Thank you so much, DJ. And I agree. I think it's a very valuable position, and once you have somebody else in here, I'd be happy to answer any questions they might have.
Thank you.
Thanks, Callie. All right. Following that act, is Jerry Arnold. So
Well, that's something.
Nice working with y'all.
I say, we don't want to repeat performance.
We're not going to let him talk if he's going to do the same thing.
Ampy's up next. Been working on, with the vendors, getting internet and telephone installed at the new building. Matter of fact, you've got a bid on the telephone system later on the agenda. I'm working on a new volunteer overtime program for the cities, actually seeing what the interest is. I'll be sending a questionnaire out to all departments to gauge interest in the program. Virgil LaRosa called me and is wanting to know if the city would give him a letter of support to construct a tower on the ridge beside his house on Deer Creek. We would be interested in space on the tower to complete the city's private intranet and to install antenna for radio communications in our public works department. The radios could reduce the cell phone costs significantly within the city, going back to radio system prior to cell phones. We had radios in all of our public works vehicles, and there had to be an update. It's when they went to high band at the comm center on the tower at Thomansville, and when they did that, we lost our antenna at the Thomansville site. And at the time, the upgrade was going to be extremely expensive, so we dropped the radio communications at that time in the vehicles and went with cell phones. And since then, Amby can attest, our cell phone bill increases yearly with the amount of phones we have on, and now we have an opportunity. The radios that we used have that equipment has come down in price considerably since then. So with this tower, what Virgil was looking for is just a, like I said, a letter of support from the city saying that we would be interested in, if he were to construct a tower, in possibly leasing space on that tower for that use. And the intranet, Joe Hughes is here from Raven Rock for any technical questions, but the intranet, we need that tower. It's the one link that we need in order to provide city-wide coverage of our intranet. Right now, the police department is using cell data for their laptops in car, and this would allow to do away also with that cell data and be on our secure network that we have built. So that's where we're at. Again, I just wanted to put it out for discussion tonight, and then if the council would entertain it, I can put it on the agenda for next council meeting for a vote to authorize the mayor to give a letter of support for the city. And again, like I said, Joe Hughes is here from Raven Rock, our current IP service provider and IT folks. So if you have any questions, you can ask Joe any of the particulars.
That connection would also allow us to have secure connection here to do credit cards out of the transfer station.
I'll begin work on the new access road for UCDA next week, hopefully. If we get this hard freeze that they're talking about, I'll be able to get it on out on the Gateway West project. So it wasn't all bad. Maybe for Kelly, but not for us. North Spring Street, the water portion of that project is about 95% complete, and waste collection approved the purchase of a new used road tractor, 2006 road tractor.
2021. General fund money market was $1,119,836, and we have a CD that remains at $85,911. Historic landmark savings, $3,025. Fire truck savings, $38,348. Stalker Youth Center capital campaign didn't change from last report, $428,053. With the $12,000 pledge, makes it $440,053. Coal tax, $55,918. Municipal stabilization fund, we added that $300,000 to it, so $814,615. Flood control account was $9,390. Consolidated Public Works Board, $193,711. And sales tax is at $1,325,421. And just a reminder that about $800,000 of the sales tax is basically spoken for in the general fund if the projects are worked on this year. Kind of housekeeping, we finished up the Affordable Care Act reports. Waste Collection Board purchased a 2006 International tractor trailer for $20,000. I'm continuing to work with supervisors to present the draft general fund budgets to City Council for review and discussion. The first working session will be held February the 10th at 2 o'clock here at City Hall. I wanted to kind of point out that the State Auditor's Office sent out information about the training workshops for municipal officials on the budgeting process. So if you want to hear it right from the horse's mouth, they're doing virtual this year. That's in your packets. If any council members want to participate, that registration form just needs to be filled out and submitted to the State Auditor's Office, and you can participate virtually. Usually you get something out of it. I think if you have time and are interested in it, it wouldn't be bad to at least just listen in on it.
What's the date or deadline on?
It says tomorrow to register, but I think if you're a little late, they'll probably take you. There's different dates that they're doing it.
Okay.
February the 11th, the 18th, the 23rd, and the 25th. So I think if you register late, they'd probably take you one of those later.
I see. Okay.
Because I've said a couple of dates that, I want to listen to the 11th. But even though I listen to them every year, I like to get refreshers on it. Sometimes you can, when you're in person, you can kind of connect with other cities. But I just like to be in the loop of anything that might have changed. Then I'm preparing some information for the presentation of the 2021 Leadership Academy that's going to be on February the 10th in the evening. So I'm trying to get that information together. We're looking into establishing a 501 status that I'll be coming back to council about. I need to talk to Tom O'Neill about that and go back. I've talked to our accountant before about it, and Callie can attest to this, and she's probably thinking, oh yeah, you'll go 501 once I leave, because she always wanted me to do that, because some of these grants are hard to get without a 501 status. And I think it's probably time, particularly with the discussions with Randy at the upcoming marching band event, that we do that for people who want to contribute to that event. Then I wanted to, let's see, your revenues and expenditures are in your packet. For the month of January, revenues $312,821. Your expenses were $667,000. So $355,000 more was expense, but $300,000 of that was the rainy day, that general fund 2 rainy day. And then I think I mentioned this before. We expensed budget items to other entities. The airport $7,500. Country Roads Transit, $5,000. Health Department, $2,500. Upshur County Development Authority, $15,000. City Architect, $3,000. And then we had a few invoices in your packet to mention. We expensed $60,000 that was budgeted for Consolidated Public Works Board to the from General Fund to the Consolidated Public Works Board. That's for Parks and Horticulture. 3,712 sample supply for the Gateway West project. And Datamax, we expensed $9,000 to them because there was a B&O that they had caught that needed owed to us, so they get 50% of what they collect for us. And then the only other thing, I want to wish a fond farewell to Callie. I'll miss her. It was a pleasure to work with her, and I guess the upside to this is we will have a strong presence in DEP that's from Buckhannon, so that we'll have that. And good luck to Callie, and I know she'll do very well. This is exactly what she really was supposed to be doing anyway. So,
do you want to go ahead and highlight the budget revision while we're here, or would you rather wait? It's up to you.
It's up to you. That Colonial Theater governance memo of understandings on there, and that kind of ties into this somewhat. But there is a budget revision. I'll just go over it with you, and you can approve it now, or at least I'll tell you about it, and then you can decide if you want to approve it later.
Andy, I had a question before that, if you don't mind. When you said Datamax for Datamax was $9,000?
Yes. Yes, that's right.
Was that one organization that had not paid B&O?
It was one organization that did not pay B&O.
Do you rather not mention that?
I'm not allowed to mention that.
We can ask you later.
Yeah, I can't tell anyone on B&O what pays what.
That's confidential.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Mm-hmm.
But that's unfortunate that an organization should have paid and didn't, and as a result, we had to share 50% with Datamax. But that's
Well, I think
where
I
we
can
are.
be transparent enough that was one we honestly didn't think would needed to pay the B&O as well. It was something that I had to actually ask questions to make sure that we weren't charging them B&O and shouldn't be. And it was a different situation for B&O, and ended up they did owe it. It was how they transact their business, I should say it that way. I don't think it was intentional, is what I was saying.
I don't think a lot of them are. I think that there's just, there's certain vendors that do business in all these communities with other businesses that don't always realize that they're supposed to be paying it as well.
Exactly, and sometimes we're not clear on it. Tom and I were supposed to attend a B&O seminar last year, but COVID kind of dropped off. I was anxious to attend that seminar to kind of get a clear understanding on some of those little innuendos about B&O that we weren't real sure about, and that was actually one that would fall in that category. So. Does that answer the question, Dave?
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
I know there are some that do it intentionally, which is unfortunate.
Okay, you want to preview the
Sure.
budget revision for us?
So you're all aware we did not get a theater grant this year. We have.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you, Andy.
Well, this year we did not get a grant for the theater from the culture. We had to set out 1 year.
Yeah.
We've got some work that needs finished in the basement. This would set us up nicely for next year's final completion of the theater. The basement work's going to be about $30,000, and we have that is still yet in miscellaneous revenue that I could move over to theater capital so we could finish up the plumbing work in the basement, which will allow for it's a big step in the process from what I'm understanding. Jerry may have to add to that because I'm not a contractor, but I take it that this is a big step in the process, and $30,000 would put us in a real good condition once we get the grant for next year. So anyway, sorry. So it'd be $30,000 for miscellaneous to the theater capital budget. It's just even 30,000 from 30,000 to the council's approval of that.
Okay, it's a pretty straightforward budget revision. Are there any questions or comments about it?
I'll make a motion, we approve the budget revision.
Thank you.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Sanders. We have a second by Mr. Rylands. If there's no further discussion.
It's a resolution, right?
Resolution,
Yeah,
yes, I'm
well-
sorry. 2021-02.
That's correct. If there's no further discussion, I'll ask for the question. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Yep.
Aye.
Those like sign opposed. The motion is carried. It is a resolution, so we will do a roll call vote. I will defer to City Recorder Mr. Sanders to administer that.
Mrs. Alvall.
Yes.
Mrs. Bucklew.
Yes.
Mr. Rylands.
Yes.
Mr. Thomas.
Yes.
Mr. Sanders votes yes, and Mayor Skinner.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Amby, for bringing that to us.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Chief Kimball, are you with us this evening?
Yes, sir.
All right. Good evening to you.
Mayor, Mayor Kemp. First, I want to start off with saying we have been praying for Councilman Rigger and Mary Councilman Allball to recover. And I would also like to say congratulations to Callie. It's been great working with you, and I wish you all the luck in your new venture. So, in council, you have my monthly activity in your packet. We were right at almost 100 calls for service again in December. The year-end activity, we were just shy of averaging 100 calls per month. That's 63% of them were inside the city limits, and 37% were outside the city in diverse due or mutual aid. In your packet, and I wish you would go to it, there was a 2-year analysis there of total alarms in Upshur County. Right at the top, it'll say 5,672 alarms. You'll just see Buckhannon SD. We were involved in 2,584 of the 5,672 alarms in Upshur County, or 46% of all the call volume in the county. So that doesn't show you how active we are in our community. I don't know what will. I marked out all the other departments because we don't, we're not judging anybody on how many calls they respond to. It's just, this is a high percentage of what we do, and not only in the city, but outside the city limits. If you all saw Callie presented on Facebook and all the newspapers, we honored some of our first responders. A lot of times we get stuck in a rut because a lot of the stuff we respond to does not have great outcomes all the time. And that day we were honoring 2 of our own, a 911 dispatcher and a couple of the EMS personnel, along with an 11-year-old girl. We had a gentleman that lives here in town that went into cardiac arrest, and his 11th granddaughter initiated CPR on him immediately. And that's huge for an 11-year-old girl to be able to do that. Our crews arrived on scene just shortly, under 3 minutes, continued CPR and started into airway management as Upshur EMS arrived and the paramedics got there. And today, 4.5 weeks later, that gentleman is alive and well. So we had a presentation here for Serenity, is her name. She's 11 years old. And everybody involved in the incident. And that's what we strive to get to is almost a perfect response. If we can get people to recognize cardiac arrest and start CPR, hands-only CPR is fine if you don't know the person or if it's not a family member, and call 911 quickly and get help there quickly. And that's how you save lives.
Where did this young lady learn this?
He took a CPR course in Lewis County, and I made statements at that presentation that even when I was young in health departments, they taught you CPR first aid. And a lot of school curriculum does not have that anymore. And we need to get back. It's a 4-hour course. It's easy to teach. And if we can teach our young kids, because we all know now a lot of our younger kids are living with their grandparents in our community. And that could be huge on the outcome of saving somebody's life. I've been in this business a long time, and it's one of the few I've seen. I've seen a couple that ended like that, but for a young lady of that age to be able to keep her composure and do that and rely on her training to save her grandpa's life, that's huge. So, kudos. So, moving on down, I presented my budget to Amby today. We'll be at the budget hearings or sessions shortly. I will have a presentation to go over some of the stuff that you'll see on the budget. I will be presenting, and it'll probably be in your next council package. It's nothing you have to really vote on. A review of our response criteria to the accreditation. We have to review this, see if there's anything that you all being the authority have a jurisdiction that you want us to change. This was approved in 2019, which is our services offered, which is the calls that we respond on. The standards of coverage that we're trying to achieve, which is how many people we're putting on scene for different types of incidents. And then going back to NSPA 1720, I think the council really needs to review that. That was approved by council, and there's a lot in that, and I really feel that council needs to approve that, and we need to discuss that. So, moving on down to the next line item, quality improvement through accreditation class. I brought this up at the last meeting. I passed it out to someone on council, and the mayor and Amby, and I have had no interest in anybody taking that class yet. They are still having some classes. These are 2-hour block classes that are 8 days, 2 hours each day. We've had 5 members of our organization here that have either attended them in person or online, and I really feel that if somebody would take it, they would understand a lot more where we're coming from when we come and talk about stuff and ask for stuff. So I would really like to influence somebody in council or some administrative position to take that. So the Buckhannon Volunteer Fire Department is currently working with JMH Consulting on a self-contained breathing apparatus grant. This was brought to your attention last year. We did not get it last year. It will be at no cost to the city. I just want to make you aware of it. It's for around 30 new SCBAs. Those cost anywhere from $7,000 to $8,000 a piece, so you're looking at between $230,000 to $250,000 to upgrade to new stuff. If you remember back in 2016, we got some from California when Chief Townsend was here, and those air packs were given to us because the California departments have got grants to get new ones in 2016. So those are 5, almost 6 years older now, and they're getting ready to almost be out of standard. So we've got to really be thinking about that. We have 13 people in our organization that have had both COVID vaccines, and we have 3 that have received 1 shot that will be going back for their second shot. So that'll be a 16 total with the complete vaccine. We've had a couple people with just minor, sore shoulder, just maybe a chill or something, but I received both my shots with no side effects. I was happy to get it. So I want to thank the Upshur County Health Department for taking care of us on that. And also, another big thing, Captain Joey Baxa, he had an article published in a national fire magazine, Fire Engineering, and it's based off of quality versus quantity. And we're in a world today where we're training our firefighters to do a lot more with less. And, just truly the functions of being a fireman, and I'm proud of Captain Baxa to do that. He's a wealth of knowledge. I mean, all of our officers here are a wealth of knowledge, but to get published in a national magazine, that is a huge event. So, but unless you all have any questions, that's our...
Any questions for Chief Kimball? All right, thanks, Chief. To all the guys, we say to be safe.
Guys and gals. Right?
Oh, yeah. I forget about dear Maria and Maggie now.
Chief, good report, Chief. Thank you.
Y'all have a good evening.
Thanks, you too.
Thank you, Chief.
I spoke with City Attorney Tom O'Neill earlier, and his report is basically our work with F2 and F3. He indicated that he didn't have anything additional under department report. So we'll move down to correspondence and information. A few things in the packet this evening. We have a notice of special city council budget working sessions, February 10th and February 16th. Both of those are at 2 p.m. Both of those will be here in council chambers as we always have those. I would encourage council members to try to be here in person to best see the budget and as we start to work on that. We did receive word that we did not receive the West Virginia Department of Environmental Protection 2020 AML pilot program grant that we applied for the River Trail extension and the SYCC Trailhead Recreation Center expansion. Callie's worked hard on that for the past couple of years, and those are hard to come by. D3 and D4, we have FOIA requests, one from West Virginia at openthebooks.com about employee records for the year 2020, and then the other one, Partner Engineering and Science, looking for zoning report for Cambridge Heights Apartments. We've got a press release that JB, Chief Kimball alluded to earlier. The Buckhannon Fire Department commends all involved in life-saving response in December. We've got a letter of intent for the West Virginia Department of Arts, Culture, and History. This is a grant application that we intend to file for the fiscal year 2022 Culture and Facilities grant for the Colonial Theater renovation final phase. And then finally, a state auditor's 2021 budget preparation workshop via Microsoft Teams that Amby alluded to just a little bit earlier. In the consent agenda, we've got several items. We've got the approval of the minutes, regular scheduled meeting January 21st, approval of building and wiring permits, approval of payment of the bills, approval open checking account for police department forfeiture funds, and then we have, of course, the two appointments. I have a couple of ideas that I'll discuss with you individually. I don't want to throw names out before we've asked them for both the Upshur County Recreation's Parks Board seat as well as the Buckhannon Upshur Airport Authority. But I've got a couple of ideas, and I asked council last time if they had any ideas, so we'll discuss that after the meeting this evening, and then we'll install those if we've got them at the next council meeting. I would entertain a motion that we accept the consent agenda. A motion by Mr. Thomas. Do we have a second?
Second.
A second by Mrs. Alval. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Those like sign opposed? The motion has carried. Down to strategic issues, we have taken care of F1. We've got F2, the approval of Ordinance 449, sanitary surcharge, Route 33 West, North Side Sewer Extension Project. This is the third and final reading. It is in our packet. I will defer to our city attorney, Mr. O'Neill, to read by caption, and then we will call for the question.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The council has before it ordinance number 449 of the city of Buckhannon, and ordinance 1 amending, modifying, and reenacting certain ordinances of the city of Buckhannon, and 2 specifically establishing new sewer surcharges for sanitary sewage collection and disposal services provided by the sanitary board of the city of Buckhannon as part of its surface extension along Old West Road, west of the corporate limits of the city. This is the third of 3 readings.
Thank you, Mr. O'Neill. I would entertain a motion that we approve Ordinance 449 on the third and final reading.
So moved.
A motion by Mr. Sanders. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second by Mr. Thomas. If there's no further discussion, I'll call for the question. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, like sign. The motion has carried unanimously. F3, the approval of the Colonial Theater Governance and Operations Memorandum of Understanding. I will once again defer to Mr. O'Neill.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We discussed this memorandum at your last meeting. The purpose is to establish a framework by which the Colonial Theater will be governed. In short, it will be governed by a volunteer board of 5 individuals, all appointed by the City Council, all serving at the will and pleasure of the City Council. The members of the board will not receive any monetary compensation. The members of the board shall be residents of Upshur County, West Virginia, so that you have a little bit of a wider net to cast from rather than just finding city residents. 3 members of the board, at least 3 members of the board, shall be individuals who are active in the Buckhannon Upshur arts community. And the council, under this memorandum, will appoint the initial board within 30 days of the approval of this memorandum by the City Council. Buckhannon Community Theater and ARC 26201, I believe that BCT and ARC 26201 have signed off on the MOU. And with that, I'd be happy to take any questions.
I'd like to first, before there's any questions, remind the council that this does not set we are not setting the actual individuals who will serve on the board in this memorandum. We're not there yet. We will do that within 30 days following the passage of this. This is just the creation of said board and laying out the guidelines thereforth. So a few council members have passed along some names to myself, but this does not put those names in place. I just want to make sure that we're clear on that one item.
Robbie, was this shared with the Upshur County Arts Alliance also?
I'm not sure. I don't think it was, right, Tom?
Well, the Upshur County Arts Alliance is not a signatory to this MOU.
I think they should take a look at it also.
Well, I don't believe that they've been involved in the redevelopment of the theater. Is that?
No, not that
Is that correct?
No, that's correct, but we're talking about throwing out a wide net. I don't think that would be inappropriate.
But they're not a part of the agreement.
Right. They don't have a signatory position of the agreement.
That's something to think about for the future, Robbie.
Okay. Is there any questions or further comments before we consider the memorandum? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion that we sign off on our portion of this memorandum with the other parties involved, as noted by Mr. O'Neill. Can I have a motion to that effect?
So moved.
So moved.
We have a motion by Mr. Rylands. We have a second by Mrs. Allball. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I abstain.
You said you abstain?
Yes.
Okay. So let the record show that we have all council members voting in approval of this, with the exception of Mr. Thomas, who has chosen to abstain.
Okay.
Okay? All right. We will sign this and participate with the other parties. Now, we will. It'll be up to the city council, us as a body, to identify the folks who will serve on this board. So we will get to work on that and start thinking of folks. And like I said, several council members have sent me some names. We'll talk about those. This will be similar to our other appointments that we make around the time of the fiscal year change. So, finally, F4 under strategic issues, the approval, the purchase of a phone system at the Public Works Facility, 395 Mudlick Road. I guess we need to talk to you all. I mean, for some reason.
I don't know.
Can't you just
it's kind
holler?
of peaceful, you know. You could.
Yeah, you really want to do this?
Yeah, exactly. The current phone we have a phone system at the transfer station, a Take Communications phone system that was installed back in I want to say 03 or 04. It's a really old system, but anyhow, this system that we're looking at replaces that old antiquated system at the transfer station and ties in our new facility together with both paging and digital phone. I've requested quotes from two companies, Raven Rock, our IT provider, and Take Communications, and they've both provided information back to me. And I will say that either company, I don't mind working with either company. However, Tate has, their quote came back more expensive, but there's about $3,000 worth of added equipment on theirs than what was on Raven Rock's. And the number one, and again, I'll get to the prices here in a minute, but the number one difference between the Take Communications and Raven Rock is that the Take Communications quote, their system will integrate with the system here at City Hall. So instead of having to actually physically dial the phone number in out there, it would be an extension of City Hall's phone system, much as the fire department Stockard Youth Center currently is. Ambi would simply, if she wanted to get in touch with me, push my extension and it would go straight through. Or if someone would call in City Hall, they could be forwarded to an extension out there if it was a waste collection question, what have you. So with that in mind, I feel that that is exactly what we have to have moving forward. So with Raven Rock's quote, they quoted the phones, and of course it was all voice over IP, and they had a quote of $10,550.
What was that, Jerry?
$10,550 was Raven Rock's quote. Take Communications quote was $14,722.71. And again, there's about $3,000 worth of cordless phones that they quoted that I asked Raven Rock to quote the analog to digital switches. So you have to deduct $3,000 from Tate's quote, but after reviewing, looking at the phones, and they're the rugged, long-distance cordless phones.
And there's a 3-year warranty on the hardware in that too.
There's a 3-year warranty on Raven Rocks and a 5-year on Tate. So that's where we're at. Like I said, my recommendation, simply because it has nothing to do with the companies, but my recommendation would be because of the integration with City Hall's phone system and the convenience of such, that we would go with Tate's.
Well, that we would go with who?
Tate Communications.
Okay. Okay. Is there questions for Jerry or discussion? So you said Raven Rock was $10,550.
Yes.
And Tate is $14,722.71.
Yeah, net, like I said, net comes down to about $1,000 difference, Tate being $1,000 more expensive. Now that, again, Joe knows this equipment better than I. That could be in the server, I mean, that could be just markup, I don't know. But the bottom line is $1,000 more to integrate with City Hall system.
Right, so yeah, that's what I was going to say. It'll be a more efficient system.
Yes, and
By tying it in with City Hall.
It would be
integrating with City Hall.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, I don't want to open a can of worms. Um,
Why not?
Well, I mean,
Let's go fishing.
We use two different, we've got Raven Rock in one area and we have Tate in most areas.
well,
If
okay,
that's-
so that's what I was gonna ask. So,
Uh-huh.
I mean, if Tate is the answer because it's in, I mean, have we considered, because Raven Rock already does our internet IT stuff, is there anything that, I mean, what if they quoted out our service on phones? What does that do? I guess.
So you would have to, you would then be switching out your.
To a switch box system is what you would be going with.
Yeah.
Essentially. And they're much more robust, much more sound, and recommend going towards, you can even check that out on our website, but the switch box system is what it would be going towards if you did decide to do that for those.
And how extensive would that be, and expensive ballpark?
Can't give you that off the top of my head, but I will get you that quote before, here shortly. Give us just a little bit of time, I'll get that quote together.
I mean, is that something we want to do or have time to do or want to even, I mean, you're the users of the system. So, I mean, I guess I mean, what do you guys think? I mean, here's the thing. I'll be very candid. I have no problem with Tate Communications. I mean, they are here in North Central West Virginia, but Raven Rock is in Buckhannon, West Virginia. So, I mean, I'm just curious to know, is it something we should look into? I mean, they're both good companies. There's nothing wrong with either company, but
Exactly.
there's just.
I mean, I'm like you, I like both companies very much. I think because the majority, and City Hall just happens to have Tate, City Hall just happens to have Tate at this time. And it is handy to just kind of push the extension and get to Deborah, or push the extension, get the police department. I mean, if they could integrate this system to allow that, then, I mean.
Would you be able to use the same terminals, same phones that are sitting on the desk?
More than likely, yes, as long as
More
they
than likely,
are, as long as you can plug into the Ethernet port through them, yes. I mean, I will confirm that just to make sure.
Here's what I'd like to do. I know I don't want to spend unnecessary time on this, but we have a budget session next week. We could include a line item. I mean, how quickly can you get us a quote?
By Monday.
Could we table this for just tonight, go through the weekend? We have a budget session on Wednesday. Could we add this as a line item on the agenda to just consider a possible other quote that would integrate everything through them?
Well, and I need more information because the system we have right now, I have the ability to put, and maybe, I'm sure this probably does the same thing, holiday schedules in there, nighttime messages, daytime messages. I can configure things a little differently. I can change extensions when I need to. We have rings on this phone and rings on that phone. So it's a little complex here, and I'm sure that can
They
do
both,
the same.
yeah, they're both complex.
So that's, I mean, there's
systems.
questions I would have anyway.
What my understanding, and I don't know a whole lot about it, of course, that's like everything else, but my understanding about it is that the system that Raven Rock is quoting is more like a computer itself.
Yes, it's more like
as
a
opposed to a
voice over
phone
yeah.
system server. It's more of a computer itself. So again, as Joe said, I'm sure that as far as interface, they can make it work, but I don't know, what it's going to entail. My timeline is this: we have, as far as city departments, again, we have a working phone system at the waste complex now. The new building does not have any phones at all. There's not been any lines transferred out yet or anything from the old shop. The only timeline we're working on is how quickly the health department would want phone in their office, because we are anticipating them moving in any time into their office, and they will need communications at that time. So that's really the only constraint as far as time that I'm working under.
Well, I would offer this though, and again, I'll look to Amby and Jerry for this advice. This is one more thing that will be thrown on a plate for some retraining, reconfiguration. This is a phone system is an integral part of what we do every day, and nothing against. I mean, we all love Raven Rock, there's no question about it, but it seems to me the logical thing to do is move with Tate on this one and not upset the apple cart with new training and a new apparatus, particularly with everything else on the plate to get that new building up and running.
Again,
That would be my thought, my recommendation.
No hard feelings.
Yeah, you know,
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
that's, I am completely, I will yield to Amby because any training that's involved with street employees is going to be new to them, regardless if it's a Tate system or a Raven Rock system. Now, as Amby said, the waste side, I'm familiar with that, and so are the employees at Waste on how that phone system operates and what we have to do with it. So that side would be retrained. But as far as us, we're kind of a blank slate on the new side.
Sure.
With how the operation works. I don't know how you want to go about it. Like I said, the only time constraint we're under is with the health department. If you want Raven Rock to come back with a quote for that.
Or if you want to do Raven Rock and then we just simply call them on the phone like we do now.
Yeah, but that's less efficient.
I don't want to do that. I want an integrated phone system. If we're going to do it, it's like everything else. If we're going to do it, let's do it right now. And whether that involves putting switches here and changing this system over to interface with the Raven Rock system, and water, I think, is the only other one right now that has a Raven Rock system. And as the mayor said, maybe it makes sense that everybody looks at that if that's a possibility. But you know,
Well, from a times, I mean, here's the thing. I would be more apt to just go ahead and accept the Tate quote if we had to wait for another 2 weeks for a council meeting. But because we're only talking about 3 days difference, because we got a weekend ahead of us, I really would kind of like to see just what they. I mean, and if it's not close, if it doesn't make sense, then we just go ahead on Wednesday and we move forward with Tate. But I kind of just. I would like to do our due diligence and see a quote from because they're already, it's not like we're bringing a whole new vendor into our world. They're already in some of our departments, so I would just kind of like to see.
Again, it matters not. I've worked with both companies, as Andy said, and both excellent companies.
If you're giving an opportunity to amend their one company's quote, I think at least
right.
Reach out to
Give
the.
them the same parameters when they quote it.
Yes.
The only difference here is that we would be looking at, because Tate is already inside City Hall, we would be looking at like what Raven Rock would look like if it was inside City Hall, and what the total cost and more than that, what the functionality and the ease of use is on each side. That's what.
And compatibility.
And compatibility, yeah.
Because you don't want to get into changing out every phone on every desk.
But if Joe says that they could possibly use the same phones that are here, and just change, out network, I mean, if the phone.
Yeah, I want to talk to Joe because kind of like what he said, this is a complex software, and if I have to learn another complex software,
Right.
you might not get.
We don't want any pressure
You
on
may
Amy,
not
that's
get
for
the
sure.
phones answered at City Hall.
Yeah, City Hall's the important phone answering.
No, then they'll start ringing at my office.
That's right. We'll tell them to call there.
We know that call forwarding.
Don't put that on there. Just kidding.
But back to Councilman Thomas's question about the same spec on both. If we give, and I think Councilman Rollins said, if we give Raven Rock a chance to go back and requote, that Tate, this system is separate from what they would be requoting, because essentially if they quote switches to be able to use the current system to talk to what's out there now, you would be bringing water into the mix at that time too, because they already have a Raven Rock system, correct? Mm-hmm. So you would have water in that same system that would be compatible throughout the city. Whereas now, if we bring Tate into there, then you're still going to have water on an island by themselves, unless that could be switched. So As far as Tate coming back in, I don't think that you have to have that. All we're asking for from them is this quote would stand on its own. The only difference would be is if their switches come back to make this talk to everybody else in the city, if they come back and it looks economic to do that, then that's the decision you would have to make at that time. This still would be the same quote. It would just simply be we take away that issue of how they talk to each other.
Well, I say we hold off until Wednesday and get some more information.
And Joe, you said you could have us a quote Monday, Tuesday time frame so that we can look at.
Monday, Tuesday for sure, and I'll
Okay.
get with Andy too and get the information.
Okay, let's if we're good with that, I'd like to do that. It's just since the timeline works for us for a meeting on Wednesday.
Do we have to amend our agenda for Wednesday?
Yes, we will.
Make sure we do that.
Yeah, we will. I will talk to Teresa about that. We still have time to do so. Tomorrow afternoon will be the deadline for that.
Okay.
Okay. So we do not need to take action on this line item just quite yet. Okay. We are down to comments and announcements. I would remind the council that we do have a brief executive session regarding personnel matters following the council meeting. So we'll begin our comments with Mrs. Allball.
I had to take you off the mute. I don't have any comments. I'm getting tired, and I'm waiting for the executive session. And one comment: make sure that you've got a complete description when you talk about the tape in the other company beforehand. You might, Jerry, you and Andy, and whoever, Jay, go back through that and look over it. You don't want to be comparing apples and watermelon. That's all I want to say about that. And everybody have a good evening. And it was great to hear everyone's voices again. Thank you.
Well, we're definitely glad that you are with us, Mary. And just so folks know, Mary was present physically in the Waste Board meeting earlier this evening, so it was great to see her out and about. So next up, Pam Bucklew.
I just want to commend Joey Baxter for making the magazine for the fire department. I think that's really great, and that looks good on Buckhannon.
Thanks, Pam. We're glad you're on the men too.
I'm hoping to be there next time.
We hope so too. CJ?
Okay, thank you.
Well, I'm glad that Mary and Pam are feeling better, and we got to pull for Jack to make a full recovery, but it's always something, and we just wish Jack and his family the best and hope he gets a speedy recovery. That's it.
Thanks, CJ. Mr. Thomas.
I echo what the other council members said, and also wish Callie to go full speed with her new position. I also wanted to make a comment about both Jim Justice and Joe Manchin. At least from my perspective, I was able to listen to them on the Brett Baer show on the special report Tuesday in regard to some of their opinions about the Keystone Pipeline and the thousands of people that are losing their positions because of the executive orders with the energy area. And I thought both the governor and Senator Manchin did a very nice job expressing what their opinions were, and that they thought it was very short-sighted, and that there needed to be a transition rather than simply do a knee-jerk reaction, which I think many people feel the executive orders were in some cases. I also abstained on the, I'm supporting the ordinance in regard to the committee for the Colonial Theater, but for some reason I was mistaken. I thought the Upshur County Arts Alliance was also included because I do think we need to throw a wide net out there, and I like to have them considered for the future because we do display art exhibits down there, and you know, the Arts Alliance, they do provide venues for artists in the city and the county, and provide scholarships up at the high school. So I will. I'm not against what was done. I just want them to be part of that process at some point in time. And wish you all well and be safe. And I also have talked to Jack. I called him last week when he did not attend the housing enforcement, and I heard he had been sick, so I called him up, and I was just really shocked that he really went downhill so fast. So please be careful, wear your mask, and use common sense in regard to this whole pandemic. Thank you.
Thanks, Dave. Mr. Sanders.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to just keep my comments to our friends and our colleagues. Once again, Pam, congratulations on your solid recovery. Mary, the same thing. I know that your appearance today was very welcomed at the Waste Board meeting. Hearing both your voices on the phone was it was great, and I know that you're both strong women and have a lot of great days ahead for you. Jack and I went to high school together, along with Amby Jenkins. Several other folks in this community are good friends with Jack Rigger. So he is definitely in our prayers. He's a strong guy. I know if anybody can beat this thing, he can. He has a strong, loving family, and he has a strong faith. So we'll just leave all that together and let it all work together and keep our positive thoughts going out to him. And finally, I got to work with Callie Cronin Sams over the period of time since I was appointed recorder and won re-election, and I'm a better person for it. So Callie, good luck and Godspeed. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Sanders. My comments are no different than anyone else's this evening. Just ask that you continue to keep Jack Rigger in your thoughts and prayers. We need him back here as part of our organization. And I also agree. Please, don't let up on the guidelines that were set forth. This thing is not over, and we still need to be careful and stay 6 feet or so or more apart from each other, and keep wearing masks indoors, and when you're around other people. That's the only way we're going to get through this. So with that, thank everybody for their thoughts and for their due diligence as city council members this evening. We've got a lot of work ahead of us in the next month and a half with budgets, with our department heads, and of course Amby guiding the ship as we work to start the process for 2021 budget year. So with that, I would ask for a motion that we adjourn into executive session at 8:31 p.m.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. No decisions will be made for the benefit of the media. Thank you, Rodney and Channel 3, for live streaming us as always. Everybody have a great evening.